All right, so today we're going to dive deep into Make Time.
Okay.
By Knapp and John Zeratsky.
Yeah.
Now, I know you've read the book, so
Yeah.
we're not going to rehash the basics or anything.
Right.
But I really want to focus on some of the things that I found most intriguing about it, and hopefully we can have a good discussion.
Sounds good.
So one of the things that really struck me was that they're both ex-Google.
Right.
They worked on Gmail and YouTube and all this stuff, and they're not advocating like a complete tech detox.
Right.
It's not like throw away your phone and
What's that?
go live in a cabin.
It's about being intentional.
All right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's about figuring out how to use it to your advantage instead of it using you.
Exactly. And they even say, we love technology.
Yeah.
We just want to figure out a way to use it in a way that works for us.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that I thought was really interesting too was this idea of the infinity pools.
Yes.
Right? Like these things are
designed to keep you hooked.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't want you to stop.
Like they're designed to keep you scrolling and scrolling.
It's funny because they don't even really demonize them.
Right.
They're like, yeah, it's fun.
Right.
We enjoy this stuff too, but you have to be aware that it's designed to keep you in there.
Yeah. And they're very clear about that.
Yes.
And upfront about that. And so I thought that was cool. And so one of the things that I thought was really interesting was this idea of like the distraction-free phone.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like...
That's a hard one.
I know. And I was reading it and I'm like,
yeah,
there's no way.
I could never do that.
I can't do that. Oh. But, they both do it.
Yeah, they do.
They've done it for years. And so it's like, wow.
They have a whole list of reasons why it's so great.
Yeah. Like you don't feel so twitchy and you're not constantly like reaching for it.
Yeah. And they still use their smartphones.
Right.
They just don't have those apps on it.
Yeah. They still use maps and make calls and all that stuff.
Right.
But they've removed the
time suck, the infinity pool apps.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, well, maybe there's something to that.
Maybe.
And then, they also have this idea of, changing your passwords to be super complex.
Oh, yeah.
And storing them in a password manager.
So then you have to like go through the effort of getting in.
Yeah. Like if you want to check Facebook,
right,
you got to go through all this rigmarole.
You really got to want to be on Facebook.
Yeah.
If you're going to do all that to get
Exactly. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And one of the ones that really cracked me up was cancel the internet. Like just cancel your home internet.
Chris asked, I think it was a friend.
Yeah. So that they don't just mindlessly browse at home.
So they have to go through the effort of using their phone as a hotspot.
Yeah. And I'm like,
if they really want to get online.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I was really intrigued by all those tactics, and and I think it all kind of speaks to this idea of
being intentional with your time.
Yeah, being intentional with your time and not letting these
the outside forces
dictate what you do.
Exactly, like being more proactive
Yeah.
in how you spend your time.
Totally.
And then they lay out this framework.
Okay.
Right? And it's highlight, laser, energize, and reflect.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like which one of those kind of speaks to you the most?
Well, I think for me it's the highlight.
Yeah.
Because it really is about figuring out
what's important to you.
Yeah.
And making sure that that's the thing that you prioritize.
Yeah. And I love how they say it doesn't have to be this big, huge thing.
Right.
It can be just like a small thing.
Exactly.
It could be like, I want to spend 30 minutes reading a book or working on this little project.
Or whatever. Spending time with your kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Or your family.
Exactly. It can be anything.
Whatever it is that's important to you.
Yeah. But just like identify that thing.
And then do it.
Yeah.
Put it in your schedule.
Yeah. And I think that's so cool. And then the laser is really about...
It's all about focus.
Yeah.
Getting rid of distractions.
Yeah. Like how do we...
And they have all these crazy tactics that they talk about for the laser.
Yes. Some of them are like...
I know.
Bonkers. Like cancel the internet. I'm like... Who does that?
I know, but I mean, it's kind of brilliant,
right?
When you think about it.
But it's just about like creating, obstacles to those things,
right? Exactly.
And I also love the send only email.
Oh yeah, where you can just send it, but you can't check it.
Yeah. You can't check it, and he talks about like searching for an app that would do that, and people were making fun of him.
Why would you want that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want that?
That's crazy.
But it's brilliant.
Yeah.
You know?
I think so.
Because then you're not
constantly being sucked in.
Yeah. You're not constantly like, oh, what's in my inbox?
Yeah.
What's in my inbox?
Exactly.
And it's just like that constant, like,
yeah.
checking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just thought that was so clever.
Yeah. So we've got highlight and we've got laser.
Yes.
What about energize?
Okay. Energize. All right. So energize is all about...
Well, it's about making sure that you have the energy to actually do these things.
Yeah. To actually do the highlight and to actually stay focused.
To avoid those distractions.
Yeah. And they're really big on...
And if you're tired...
Yeah.
You're going to go for those low-hanging fruit.
Yeah. You're going to be like, oh, I just want to...
Yeah.
Watch...
Yeah.
Scroll TikTok.
Scroll TikTok for an hour.
Right.
You know? So they have all these different things in there about like taking care of yourself.
Yeah, your body and your mind. It's all connected.
And one of the things I love is exercise every day.
Yeah.
But don't be a hero.
Oh, I love that.
I mean, it doesn't have to be this crazy.
You don't have to spend an hour at the gym.
Yeah.
You know?
It could be.
Just a little bit every day.
Yeah. Like just go for a 20-minute walk or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And John even talks about how he used to be like a real exercise.
Like a gym rat.
And would push himself so hard.
And then he'd get injured.
Yeah.
And it was like this whole thing.
And then he'd have to stop for a while. And then he realized it was much better to just do a little bit every day.
Consistent.
Yeah.
Just do a little bit.
Exactly.
And I thought that was so smart.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
And then...
So we've got exercise.
Yeah.
What about food?
Food. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they say about food?
So they have this whole thing about eat like a hunter-gatherer.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know.
Basically just eat real food.
Yeah. Eat real food.
Stay away from processed stuff as much as possible.
Exactly. And then they have this really cool visual.
Oh, I love this one.
I love it. Central Park Your Plate.
Yes. Central Park Your Plate.
Yeah.
I use this all the time.
Yeah. It's like, you know, Central Park takes up this huge portion of Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
So half your plate should be vegetables.
Yes. And then you add.
And then you add.
The other things around it.
The other stuff around it.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. It's a great visual.
And then they also have snacks. Like a toddler.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought was...
So you're not just snacking on junk all day.
Like choose healthy snacks.
Right, like fruit or nuts or something like that. Instead of chips and candy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have to talk about the caffeine.
The caffeine.
Because they're both...
Huge coffee fans.
Coffee aficionados. And so...
John especially.
Yeah. John especially.
He loves his coffee.
He loves his coffee. And so he has this whole thing.
It's a whole system.
It's called caffeine nap.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this?
Drink your coffee.
Yeah.
Then take a 20-minute nap.
Yeah.
The caffeine kicks in when you wake up.
Yeah. It's great.
It's like a double whammy.
Right.
Yeah. It's wild.
So I thought that was really interesting.
It's like a super boost.
Yeah.
To your day.
And then they also talk about, you know, just like finding those moments of quiet.
Oh. Yeah.
Throughout the day.
Like going off the grid.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for a few minutes.
Yeah, just like give your brain a break.
Yeah, just a little reset.
And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it's like our brains aren't designed to be on all the time.
Right.
We need those breaks.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, a lot of us are so used to being go, go, go.
All the time,
you know. And so anyway, so we've got highlight, laser, and energize.
Right.
And then we have reflect.
Okay.
And I want to dig into that a little bit more.
Sounds good.
But should we take a quick break?
Yeah, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and talk about reflect.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So reflect is all about like taking a step back and looking at what's working, what's not working.
And kind of adjusting your approach.
Okay.
And it's really simple.
Okay.
They have 2 questions that they recommend asking yourself at the end of each day.
Okay, give them to me.
All right. So the first one is, what was your highlight today? Did you make time for it?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so it's just like a little check-in.
Yeah.
To see if you're actually doing the things that you said you wanted to do.
Right, exactly.
And then the second question is, what brought you joy?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but so powerful.
It is, because it's so easy to just get caught up in all the doing.
Yeah.
And forget about like actually enjoying.
Right.
your life.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So it's like a good reminder to like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
What actually made me happy today?
Exactly.
And you know, even if it was just like a small thing, like a conversation with a friend or a good cup of coffee.
Right, exactly.
Whatever. So, and I think that's what's so cool about this book is they really emphasize this idea of experimentation.
Yes.
Like they even have these things called tactic battles.
Oh yeah, I love those.
So they're like arguing about what's the best way to do something.
And they admit that like, you know, different things work.
Yeah.
For different people.
Exactly.
And I think that's so refreshing.
Totally.
Because so many productivity books are like, do it this way and you'll be successful.
This is the one right way.
Yeah.
And it's like
everyone's different.
Yeah. Not everybody's the same.
Right.
Yeah.
So figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Yeah, like the to-do list.
Oh, yeah.
John's like, I love to-do lists.
Yeah.
Jake's like, I hate to-do lists.
To-do lists are the worst.
And I'm like...
It's funny how, like, polarizing they can be.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like, what? How can you hate a to-do list?
I know, but some people's brains just don't work that way.
And the same thing with, like, morning versus night.
Oh, yeah.
John is a night owl turned morning person.
Yeah.
And Jake's like, no, I get my best work done at night. So it's like...
It's all about figuring out what works for you.
Yeah, your own rhythms.
Yeah. You know, and I think that's what's so cool about this book is it's like they're not...
It's not a one-size-fits-all.
Yeah. It's like you figure out what works for you.
Your own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. And I love all the little anecdotes.
Oh, yeah. They're great storytellers.
Like when he talks about trying to find a send-only email app.
I know. Everyone's like, what are you talking about?
But he was like, no, I want to be able to send emails. Yeah. But I don't want to be tempted to check them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
He just wanted to get it out of his head.
Yeah.
But not be beholden to his inbox.
Exactly. Exactly. So I thought that was a really great example of like, you know.
It's like taking control of your tech.
Exactly.
Instead of letting it control you.
Instead of letting it control you. So I'm curious, like, how do you see this applying to like different contexts? Like,
because I know a lot of people are thinking, well, that's great if you have like a flexible job and no kids.
Right.
But what about the rest of us?
Yeah. Like, what if you've got a really demanding job?
Yeah.
You've got kids. You've got all this other stuff going on.
Right.
Like, how do you
actually make time?
Yeah. How do you make time?
And, you know, they talk about that.
Right.
They're basically saying, like, it's all about finding those little pockets of time throughout your day and being really intentional about how you use them.
Okay. So, like, even if it's just 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there.
Exactly.
You can still...
You can still make progress on those highlights.
Okay.
You know?
That's really cool.
And it's about changing your mindset. From I don't have enough time to how can I use the time I have more effectively.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good reframe.
And so they have all these different suggestions for like, if you have a long commute, you can listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
You can listen to an audiobook, you know.
If you're waiting in line at the grocery store.
Yeah, you can do a quick meditation.
Yeah,
you know?
Just be present.
Yeah. Just take a breath.
Put your phone away.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really about just like looking for those opportunities and being creative and finding ways to sneak in a little bit of time.
Yeah, and it's like almost like a little game.
Yeah, it is kind of like a game. Like how much can I actually fit into my day?
Exactly. So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive here, I'm just really struck by this message of like hope and empowerment.
It's not about being perfect.
Yeah.
It's about progress.
Exactly.
It's about taking control.
It's about taking control
of your time.
Of your life.
And realizing that you have more control than you think you do.
Absolutely.
It's a really empowering message.
It is. It is. Yeah. And it's not about like, you know, becoming this productivity machine.
Right. It's not about hustling all the time.
No.
It's about finding what works for you.
Living a good life.
Yeah.
You know.
And being intentional about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so...
I think we're about ready to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay, sounds good.
I think we covered a lot of good stuff.
We did. We did. And I really appreciate you coming on and
this was fun.
Sharing your insights.
Yeah, I love talking about this stuff.
Me too. Me too. And I hope our listeners got a lot out of it.
Me too. I hope so.
So, until next time,
keep making time.
This kind.
For what matters most. It really is. And one of the things I think that makes this book so great is that, you know, they're not like these perfect productivity gurus.
Right.
You know, like they're
just regular people.
Yeah. Like they admit to struggling with distraction and
all the same stuff that we all struggle with.
Yeah. And I think, that makes it so much more relatable?
Relatable and believable.
Yeah.
Like they're not just up there preaching at you.
Exactly. They're like, we're in the trenches with you.
Yeah, we're figuring this out too. Yeah. This is what works for us.
Yeah. And I think that's so important because it's like,
everyone's different. Yeah. There's no magic bullet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think like the that whole thing with John and like the send only email.
The send only email. Yeah. Everyone makes fun of him for that.
Yeah. But I think it's so
I think it's brilliant.
Brilliant. It's like he recognized a problem.
Yeah.
And he came up with a solution.
He found a way to fix it.
That worked for him.
Yeah. And you know what? He didn't care what anyone else thought. He was like, this is what I need.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it.
Exactly. And I think that's a really powerful message.
It is. It's about taking control.
Yeah.
And not being afraid to be different.
Exactly. Exactly. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to kind of circle back to something you said earlier about the reflect question.
Okay.
About
what brought you joy?
Yeah.
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 That's a good one.
That is such a good question.
Yeah. Because it's so easy to forget.
Yeah.
It really is.
To ask yourself that.
Yeah. Like, what did I do today?
Yeah. That made me happy.
What made me smile? Yeah. What made me feel good?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, that's such a good reminder.
It's so important to focus on those things.
Yeah. And to make time for those things.
Exactly. Yeah. Because that's what life is all about.
Exactly. Exactly. So as we kind of wrap up here, I want to leave our listeners with a question.
Right.
What's one small change that you can make today to start making time?
To make time.
Be your highlights.
Yeah.
For the things that bring you joy.
For the things that matter to you.
For the things that matter to you.
It
doesn't have to be a big, huge thing.
It could be tiny.
Yeah.
It could be just like setting a timer for 5 minutes and just like closing your eyes and taking some deep breaths.
Exactly. Or
going for a walk around the block.
Or deleting that one app that, is sucking up all your time.
Just get rid of it. Yeah.
So whatever it is.
Whatever it is, just take that first step.
Yeah. Just take that first step.
It's a journey.
And remember, it's a journey.
It's not a destination.
It's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about
progress.
Progress, not perfection.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, this was fun.
I really enjoyed it.
Me too.
And until next time.
Until next time.
Keep making time for what matters most.